I am April Streeter. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here with my sibling.
Hello, I am Ocean Streeter. My pronouns are she, they, and it is a pleasure to be here today.
Cool. All right, so yeah, Ocean and I are siblings, but I'm really happy to be here today to talk with Ocean and share some information. So I guess we'll start, Ocean, if you don't mind taking us through your diagnoses.
Well, my diagnoses are cerebral palsy and autism.
Thank you. Can you maybe take us through the timeline of your diagnoses?
Well, I was diagnosed during my college years by Dr. Mary Cotton. And I wanted to be diagnosed because I needed assistance, and in order to get assistance from Northeast Kingdom Human Services, I needed to qualify by being diagnosed
And this was your ASD diagnosis?
with autism, yes.
Thank you. Can you share a little bit about how things changed for you after you got your ASD diagnosis?
After I got my ASD diagnosis, well, could you elaborate?
Of course. So, how do you feel, if at all, things changed for you, maybe in what you were able to access for services, or maybe just that, were you able to access different services or different supports after your diagnosis?
Well, after my diagnosis, maybe even before, I can't be sure at the time, but I accessed TRIO and like academic support services, which were very helpful, instrumental to my success and eventual graduation from Vermont State University, Johnson. Some of my accommodations were were things such as like extra time on tests.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned something big that I am super proud of you as a sibling and happy for you about, which is that you graduated with your bachelor's degree a couple of years ago. So what did you major in? What was your major?
Well, originally I had wanted to become an herbalist, and so I enrolled in the wellness and alternative medicine program. But after some thought, I figured a better course of action would be to pursue other things that I'm passionate about. And so my degree is interdisciplinary studies with a concentration in written communication, psychology, and wellness and alternative medicine. And written communication because I always wanted to write. Originally, I wanted to write for a newspaper, but now as time has gone on, I really enjoy writing fiction, so I want to pursue that interest.
Yeah. Super cool. Well, I like, of course I like, but I am glad that you mentioned the piece about writing, because that's something that I thought would be super cool to talk about. You love writing. Can you share maybe why you love writing? Or I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but I think you love it.
Well, I love writing because it allows me to be able to think about what I have to say and communicate in a clear and concise and coherent way, in a way that through conventional, just face-to-face communication, it's a bit of a difficulty for me because I have a slower processing speed when it comes to receiving information, and so it takes me longer to come up with responses. Yes. And so it allows me to take the time I need to fully think through my ideas and flesh them out. And I just enjoy writing on the computer.
Mm.
And I'm getting really much better this year, I think, at communicating both in person and through electronic means. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. That like being able to sit down and take the time to process things and write them out. That makes a lot of sense. That would be something that you might find kind of enjoyable and comforting. So what do you like to write about?
Well, I like to write. My love of writing began with poetry, and then just recently I started writing short stories. And the short story that I submitted for publication is it's like this love story between two people who are neurodivergent and have autism, and like how to like they fall in love with each other because they both have like social difficulties and understanding. Like one key like example that it's based around is like my character doesn't know how to like ask somebody for like to go out to lunch and is so afraid that they're gonna not say like that they don't want to, or like, respond in a negative way, that they have trouble even reaching out at all. But then they meet, the character is unnamed, but they meet Daisy, who's another person, and they learn more about each other and like how they think, and they're able to support each other because they have similar ways of thinking about the world in terms of social interaction. So, yeah.
Is that something you'd like to see published someday?
Yes, in fact, because I went to Vermont University, Vermont State University Johnson.
Right, it had a different name, I think, when you went there.
Formerly known as
NVU
Johnson, but it is now evolved to Vermont State University Johnson. And while I was in school, I took an editing and publishing class, and we one of the literary magazine at Johnson is known as Pamplemousse, and so I submitted it there because I thought it would be good exposure, and especially since I went to school in Johnson, like it'd just be nice to contribute back to a place that really helped shape me as a person. So, yeah.
So, Ocean, do you want to talk a little bit about your advocacy?
Sure. I am a part of my local self-advocacy group in Morrisville, which is ultimately a part of Green Mountain Self-Advocates, which is a self-advocacy, a group of self-advocacy groups like throughout the state. They're based in Montpelier, and the work that they do is they just help people stand up for themselves and understand their rights and how to access services. And
Cool. I know you mentioned you mentioned to me before that you went to was it a workshop this?
I went to a conference called Voices and Choices, and there's different workshops. It's people choose, but they talk about topics that are relevant to people with disabilities. And, there was like an LGBTQ talk. And yeah.
Cool. What was that experience like, sort of being around people who maybe, were like-minded and cared about this stuff?
I think it was a good experience. I didn't know what to expect because, it's like a 2-day event. It's like a night and a day.
Wow.
May even be 3 days, but I think it's 3 days. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, there's a sleepover in the hotel and stuff, but I just went for the day.
Okay, cool. So, Ocean, so you've talked about your writing and about how that's really something that brings you a lot of joy, and kind of one of your passions, really. Where do you see that writing taking you in the future? Maybe what's your goal with your writing?
Well, my goal with my writing is to, hopefully get published by Pamplemousse first, but then also to just continue writing short stories and submitting them to different literary magazines. But then eventually, my eventual goal is to write a novel of, I'd say, a good page length would be about 200 pages. So, yes.
So you are really kind of looking to publish your work?
Absolutely, yes.
And really kind of build it up in volume?
Yes. I've never approached writing material with chapters before, but I feel as though I'm capable of it. And the nice thing is, if you write as many pages as you want, it can be a chapter. So there really is no.
That's true. There's some
there
flexibility
really is no limit.
there.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So I wanted to loop back to kind of where we started. So you spoke about being diagnosed with autism and how that came in your 20s, right, after high school.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could talk about when you were diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Well, I was born premature at 26 weeks gestation, and I had a brain bleed and a collapsed lung. And the brain bleed contributes to the fact that I have a slower processing speed, but I have a verbal IQ of 135.
That's pretty impressive. And I believe it. I feel like your writing really showcases your vocabulary, among other things like your creativity. A very creative and artistic person, definitely.
Yes, I love reading books. I love reading, learning new words. For a while, I started teaching myself Korean.
That's so cool.
Through Duolingo, but and that's going pretty well. I need to get back to it, but sometimes you don't want to practice. But it's fun though.
Yeah, that is cool. Super cool. So, something that I think something else I'm really happy for you that's happened in the last year or so is that you have found an independent living situation. Can you talk about what that experience has been like?
It's been really good. For me, I live in Hyde Park, and I have my own apartment, and then another person has their apartment next to me, and then my landlord lives above me, and it's really nice. We do a lot of stuff. We go to the movies often, sometimes in Burlington. Probably my favorite cinema is probably the Roxy, I'd say, because of the greater variety of movies they have to offer. Because they have more, like ones from film festivals and stuff. So I'm a big film buff.
Yeah. I feel like I always look to you for like movie recommendations, show recommendations, music recommendations.
Yeah, I love music. Pretty much any genre.
You're very open-minded when it comes to that.
And even so much as classical, I used to not particularly prefer it, but I like it now. I want to explore it more closely. But
Right. So you you mentioned that you have your own apartment and it's situated right next to someone else. And could you talk about kind of the technical term for your living setup?
Technical term for my living situation is a shared living provider, which allows me to be independent, but also if I need assistance with anything. And he helps me cook, take me to go to the movies, drives me to the store. Just it's in ways to facilitate my independence while providing me opportunities to facilitate my independence. Yeah.
So you kind of have your own space, and you can make your daily schedule. You kind of take care of business, and then you have your shared living provider who's there to really kind of just support you.
And I eat dinner with him.
That's nice.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we eat dinner and we like to play Yahtzee or Sorry or Trouble.
Cool.
Yeah, we play games.
Do you feel like your outlook has changed since moving into the situation? Like your outlook on, maybe I'll leave it open to that. How has your outlook changed since moving?
My outlook has changed in that I definitely feel more capable of doing things on my own than I ever have. Because before moving to Hyde Park, I attempted to live in South Burlington, and that was unsuccessful for many reasons. And so it was a bit of a rough couple of years. But now that I am in Hyde Park, I feel like it's where I'm supposed to be. And it's close by to Johnson. Yeah, it's a familiar territory. So.
And you're working with Green Mountain Support Services, is that right, in Hyde Park?
Or in Morrisville. Yes.
Cool. Awesome. So something else I wanted to circle back to was your college experience. So you told me about your triple major, or your major in interdisciplinary studies. So what do you think enabled you to kind of be successful in your college career? What were the supports that were available to you?
Well, being part of the TRIO program was definitely instrumental to my success. As I mentioned before, they provided things like accommodations such as extra time on tests and just a quiet study space, and there were snacks, and it's just a nice place to decompress after a long day. Some the staff were always people you felt comfortable with talking with, and if you had any problems, you could feel free to talk with them. And yeah, it was a family. Yeah, I consider it a family kind of situation.
That's really great. So, do you feel like things would have been more difficult had you not had that kind of family of support?
Yes, because college, for any prospective college student, college is difficult. But while it is difficult, it is also extremely rewarding because you get to the end of the road, you graduate, and you're like, I did it.
Yeah.
But there were many times where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It's too hard. And there's like times where I wanted to quit, but then I knew that I needed to do this because I wanted to be successful in my life. And I had already had problems in the past with school. And so, but I found a home at Johnson, and yeah, definitely it helped shape me into the person that I am today. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel like, or what does it mean to you to have your degree?
It means very much to me. It means quite a lot to me. It means like all the sleepless nights, all the stress, of assignments and asking for extensions because I didn't make enough time whatever the case may be. It was all worth it because I got a degree and it means something. It means that I can pursue my hopes, my goals and dreams, and it was just like it was a crash course in life and social interaction, and I had ups and downs with that too, but it all culminated and it was all worth it. So.
Sounds like it was a learning experience in like every sense of the word.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything you wanted to add about your college experience, or something you like wish you had known going into it?
With my college experience, something that I wish I would have known would probably be the fact of trio and accommodations and abilities to reach out for help with academics. Yeah, that's something that people listening and watching should definitely know and look into. And I'm hoping that I was helpful in the explanation.
So you're saying, for people looking into college or higher education who might be nervous about, how it's all going to go down, you're saying there are, potentially some supports for them if they look into that. And it was helpful for you.
Yes, it was. And yes, there are.
Great. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, just that it was a pleasure speaking with you today, and it was a pleasure speaking with you today.
It's a pleasure speaking with you today, too.